down in some. So let us start in the usual way with a few minutes of meditation, grounding our awareness in the present, letting go about all memories of the past and thoughts about the future. So I think most of you should know we get into a comfortable meditation position. Most important thing being having a upright sitting posture. We first ground our awareness in our body consciousness, because although our thoughts might wander to the future or remember things about the past, all of our bodily sensations are only present. So we're grounding that awareness in the fact that you're now sitting. So feeling the weight of your body on the cushion beneath you. Try to gain an awareness of your head in relation to the rest of your body, and make sure that you're not leaning forward or to the side. And we often do what a quick body scan, so starting from the top of the head, then we bring our awareness to each individual part of the body. First, just checking in, seeing what's there, whatever kind of sensations there are, just observe. So the sensations can be pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. You might have some tingling, you might have some feeling of heat or cold. So starting with the head and going down to the face. You're making sure that all the facial muscles are relaxed, not clenched. So particularly the eyes, around the eyes, around the mouth, the jaw, allow those muscles to soften. Then going down to the neck and shoulders. So first just seeing, observing what is there. And then if there's any tension, allowing yourself to let go and release. Going down the arms, you can do them both simultaneously, or you can do first the right and the left, your choice. Then continuing on back to through the torso. And then down through your seat, down through the legs, all the way to the toes. And then just try to have a few moments of the entire realm of the body consciousness. And then now we can shift our attention to the breath. So the physical sensations of in the body as we breathe in and out. Whether it be at the rising and falling of the abdomen, the expansion and contraction of the chest cavity, or the air passing over the skin in the nostril area. Wherever is most vivid and where the sensations are most prevalent, just place your mind's awareness there and watch. Try to maintain the notion of it being an impartial observer, so not having a particular preference for a long breath or a short breath. In fact, try to drop all effort in the breathing, which is the breath settling into its natural rhythm. And as we try to maintain focus on the breath, when there are other appearances to the mind, try not to engage with them. So be it external like a sound, internal like a thought, a memory. Be aware that they arise, but try not to follow after the thoughts. There's an image of a drawing on the surface of a pond that dissolves back into the water the next moment. So like that, without pain, and just not for the thoughts, just allow them to dissolve back into the nature of the mind and transfer through the minutes. Okay, so bring our awareness back to the room, meditation. So today and today only, we are visiting Tibetan So, as some of you know, right, we have this, to wake ourselves up from the meditation. We have these nice, singing bowls. And we had one. Remember this one? The sound was very muted. So some years ago, we found this one at Dharma. So we should actually have a, do we have that old one? Yeah, we can give the full sound test. Okay.
Oh.
That one is
Just this one, right?
it's outside of it.
Yeah, it's yours. Okay, so this is what we had for a while. It looks very nice. Inside is a, image of Buddha. We have, see, but here's my take. Okay, you gotta be careful. You go to these places like Dharamsala, right? Makalaganj. Now this is where His Holiness the Bangalore lives. So what I hear is back in the 70s, 80s, it was like just empty, right? Then as His Holiness the Bangalore gained more and more popularity, which is good, more and more tourists started to come. Okay, good. They get to see His Holiness. But what happens? So part of it's natural, right? More tourists, especially foreigners, that means more commercialization. So there might be, like with anything, there's some beautiful tankas, right? The Tibetan art, all these, the traditional arts and crafts, they come, they're there. Then, supply and demand, market economics. So then when they see there's some demand for that, okay, the real one, okay, this level of quality. But as with anything, if you're not an expert and then you go to the shop, how can you tell, right, about the art or whether the gem is real or not, right? So then you look at this, it looks really nice. Okay, so I'll tell you, Nima can also say, this is supposed to be Om Mani Padme Hum written. But the artist who wrote this did not know how to write Tibetan. They saw a picture and they kind of copied it. And they copied it like, okay. But then after you do it, like, they probably made hundreds of these. And then it the bit degenerates, and then it's not really proper. Okay. So that's one thing.
So
And then this one on the back, on the bottom, it's like the eyes of the Buddha statue, Buddha stupa. But look at that. It's not really, they probably didn't even see the real Buddha stupa. They probably saw a copy of that. And then, it's like a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy. Then you get this. For people at home. You look at that. Okay. So that's one thing. But maybe someone, you also don't know Buddha. You're like, oh, that's a cool design. Oh, what is this? You ask the shopkeeper. Oh, what does this say? Oh, it's Om Mani Padme Hum. It's written in Tibetan. Ooh, exotic. Right? I'm going to take this back to Germany, have it on my coffee table. Right? Then people come. Ooh, what's that? Oh, that's a Tibetan bowl. That's Om Mani Padme Hum. Yeah, I went to India. Yeah. Right? You gotta keep it real, right? But that's not all. Now we do the sound test. Okay. Huh? Okay. Yeah, it makes a sound, right? You of course, if it didn't make any sound, you know, you're buying something, they won't get it, right? But then the resonance. Okay, she's a professional, so she's already. My form isn't good. It's my. I'm playing tennis. It's my backhand. You know, I need my forehand. You know. Okay. Ali. Okay. Nice sound. You with me? But then, yeah, we got the big guns. Backhand. Also. It's very muted. So anyway, depends on your mood, right? This seems to me to be very Japanese, you know? Right? I feel like I feel like eating sushi. Vegetarian sushi. Okay. Anyway, so enough fun and games, but that's just a little. There's a little teaching in that, right? Some of you, I mean, you know me by now. You might, those of you who don't know me, you might think, "Oh, is this guy telling all these stories?" There's actually teaching in it. Think about it. So there are many. Anyway, this is not even a Dharma thing, but it's sad, you know. There are a lot of people, they want to make the quick buck, right? And therefore, they're going to want to, you know, take advantage of unsuspecting consumers. What's that Latin phrase? Caveat emptor, right? Buyer beware, right? You might think they'll tell you all kinds of things. Oh yeah, this is brought from Tibet. Yeah, it was made in Tibet, and you know, it was used by the 13th Dalai Lama.
I think they're particularly stupid consumer.
Well, you know. So there's that level, but you know, there's all these tricks. Especially, I mean, I don't know if our Indian brothers and sisters, I don't know if you get scammed as much as like foreigners in Dharamsala, right?
Yes, Manta.
It's very suspicious.
Right.
Who Indians? Yeah.
But I mean, I'm sure you probably get some of the same things, like you're my first customer of the day, I give you good price, right? Some of the standard moves, right?
And then after you reach a certain amount of bargaining, it'd be like,
Okay, last price.
It's like not yours, but mine, somewhere in between.
I see.
You know?
Right. But we get, right, first, we also get like, oh yeah, I just sold this to a German customer this morning. I sold the exact same one. They paid me 200 euros for it or whatever, right? Anyway, may all beings be happy, including the scammers. Okay. Enough fun games. We're here Sunday morning. And on Sunday morning, we've been going through this this very wonderful text, Bodhisattva, Guide to a Bodhisattva's Way of Life, Bodhisattvacharyavatara, composed by the great Indian master, Shandideva. And we are doing chapter 5. And,
Oh,
huh?
8.
What?
Is it mindfulness? That was what I advertised.
No. Chapter 5. Huh? So here's a bit of an issue. It's chapter 5. Huh? I thought it was verse 44.
43, we were supposed to be 28 or something. He ran to them to 40.
I know.
He started from 28.
He started?
Then he ran to from 28 to 43. But he can start from 44 also.
Wait. So he went from 28 and then jumped to 43.
No, he covered it. He just read through it quickly because we were running short of time. We had already over short time.
I see. Okay, good. It's not just me
He was
that's running
not
short of time. Okay. Anyway. Let's do like this. Let's do like this. Okay. We need to give a little bit small intro to this text because everyone might not be here. So as I always like to do, right? Then the title of the text, right? We don't judge a book by its cover, but we can get an idea. The title of the text gives some idea. So in Tibetan, Janchu Sempe Chupa La Jupa. Okay. So Janchu Sempa is Bodhisattva. Okay. Then when you say Janchu Sempe, it's like this apostrophe S. It's a dvelda. It's saying a connection. Okay. Chupa, okay, is like deeds or conduct. Okay. La Jupa. La, okay, in this context, it's like in, or it can mean so many things. Like in English, it's actually quite tough, right? We have in, on, at, right? It's quite tough. So, sometimes non-native speakers is like, am I sitting in a chair? Am I sitting on a chair? Am I sitting, But in Tibetan, they have this, it's like not clear enough. The ladun, right? It can mean in, at, on, the, and then there's like how do I say, like non-standard usage. Shanti, do you know about this? A little bit. Are you continuing with your Tibetan studies?
Yeah.
How
That, I'm redoing, I finished 4 levels, I'm redoing 1 level, almost done. The teacher is
Dini?
very disappointed.
Karichin. Karichene. Okay, so you know Karichene, this is your Tibetan lesson.
Because you don't know how to speak or understand.
Kain Sena. Okay. So Karichene is why. Kain Sena is because. Okay, that's the lesson for today. It's important. We get some of these question words. It's nice, right? I don't need to put you on the hot seat. So, La Jupa. So Jupa, it's coming up a lot, right? So you know Majjhimika Avatara, okay? You get that, right? So this is Bodhisattvacharyavatara. So this Vatara, yeah? It's like here it means different things in different contexts. So again, we normally this Chandrakirti text, Majjhimika Avatara, the great American scholar Jeffrey Hopkins, he always likes to translate that as a supplement to the middle way, because it's supplementing, and not to get into it, it's to be seen as a supplement to Nagarjuna's text, the fundamental wisdom of the middle way. Okay, so he's like, you know, adding, supplementing, like a side dish, right? To give some added flavors and nutrition. Okay. But sometimes it says, you know, entering the middle way. It can also mean entering. Sometimes you see it translated like engaging. Okay. Here is a quick loose translation, but guide to a Bodhisattva way of life. You wouldn't say Jupa means guide, but it's basically, you can think of it, right? You know, we say a guidebook, right? So if you're going to a, you know, new country, right? You get a guidebook that tells you the sites, where to go, what to do, you know, these things, shows you some maps, right? So similar like that, right? The Bodhisattva's deeds, we're now, we should know this. Bodhisattva, I don't want to assume, but a Bodhisattva is,
One who has the quality of Buddhism.
yes, and technically not yet enlightened, right? So if someone's still training on the path, but they have the mind of bodhicitta. So then what is bodhicitta? This altruistic wish to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. Okay. By the way, we didn't set our motivation properly. I got distracted by these goals. So let's just take a moment to adjust our motivation and think the purpose of my life is to benefit all sentient beings. And therefore, in order to do that in the most effective way, I must first achieve the state of enlightenment. And therefore, I need to learn about all the practices and techniques to achieve enlightenment. And therefore, I'm going to listen to this profound teaching here today. Okay. So that is the same thing with this book, right? We maybe aren't yet bodhisattvas. That's okay. But at some point, you know, we think like we said last night. We have the compassion wishing for, you know, someone to be free from suffering. So in general, as we come into Dharma, we first sort of use ourselves as the kind of base case, and we see that we ourselves are suffering. And then we sort of inquire as to, why am I suffering? Why is my life like this? And then as we take a more expansive view of our life, yes, there are other conditions that contribute to our well-being and our suffering. But we see, I hope all of us have seen, that actually more important than the external conditions are the internal conditions of our mind, right? Even if we have the best, most comfortable bed, when our mind is very disturbed, still we can't sleep, right? Even if we have the, best tasting food set out in front of us, sometimes we see this with babies, right? They got the nice food, and they're so angry, they're like, and make a big mess, right? Sometimes the parents, right? The baby's crying so much, and they like try to give the favorite toy to pacify the baby. And normally in better times, the baby's like, so nice with the toy, so happy, brings so much joy. But when they're in the middle of a tantrum, might even throw the toy across the room. Have you seen this? So what does that mean? If that toy was the true source of suffering, true source of happiness for them, right? Then anytime you get the toy, ooh, happy, right? But it's not that way. It's not the toy that's bringing the happiness. The happiness is only from the mind. So for us, we're confused about that. And we think, oh, when I get whatever it is, probably none of us are thinking, once I get a mallet, then I'll be happy. But I'm just using this as an example. When I get that, or when I get this, or whatever, then I'll be happy. Something focused on the external. But then at a certain point, we realize, hey, wait a minute. Okay, most of the time, by the way, we aren't successful in getting what we think we wanted to get, if we're honest. At one point, I don't know, like many of many kids, I wanted to be a professional athlete or whatever, movie star, something like this. Did you have things like this? Didn't really happen, right? So yeah, most of the time we're not successful, right? It's true. I still like sports, but in any kind of tournament, there's only going to be one winner at the end, right? World Cup, there's tennis tournament, 64 people enter the tournament. Only one is crowned the winner at the end. If you want to be prime minister of India, right? 1.3 billion people, only one going to be prime minister. Quite tough, right? So most of the time, we don't get what we want. I'm reminded of a song. Who knows this song? By the Rolling Stones. You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need. It's really profound, right? Rolling Stones. Who would have thought? Namjong Rinpoche is famous for quoting another Rolling Stones song, by the way. I can't get no satisfaction. Right? I try, but I try. I can't get no satisfaction. That Rinpoche said it's like the the fundamental encapsulation of samsara. Right? So, then, from the starting point of understanding how we are suffering, we're not experiencing the happiness that we want, we then turn and look inward and say, well, why am I suffering? And then now when we look into Dharma, we see that, and Sadhana was mentioning this last night, the kind of, the real fundamental, we can say, discovery of the Buddha was he identified suffering, these different levels of suffering and their causes, right? And then how, after identifying the causes, how we can then stop that cause. When we stop the cause, we can stop the effect. So by stopping the cause of suffering, we can stop the effect of experiencing that suffering. And that's what nirvana is. Well,
Never being satisfied and always an attachment to more.
So Sana. No, I'm not sure. Okay, depends, right? When you say, okay, so those at home, Sana was saying, there's only one cause. Never being satisfied, always wanting more.
Our concept of ourselves, and that brings about all the attachments, all the
Okay, so,
disappointments, all the,
right. So now we're already like loosening it up, right? First it was just,
Well,
First-
it comes down to the belief.
well, first he says that attachment, you're never satisfied, you always want more. And now it's now the sense of ego. Then tomorrow it's gonna be because I can't get my Sunday brunch.
Listen up with the definition.
Yeah, no, I'm hey, I've been trained in debate, right?
It's very dangerous for Shanti.
No, don't think like that. Don't think it's dangerous. Don't think it's dangerous. Because I'll pounce on the wrong views. So you should actually think, if you find another way, think, wow, it's a wonderful opportunity to get this, right? Hey, we don't do this prayer often, right? But oftentimes at the beginning of teachings, when we have Lamrim teaching that's set up, we recite a praise to Manjushri. Kanglongma. Anyway, in that we sort of beseech Manjushri to please, using with a sword, right? We say, Manjushri, please, using your sword of wisdom, cut through, the darkness of my ignorance, so I can gain insight into the Buddha's teachings and the commentaries that explain them. Something like this, right? So, hey, this is an important point, and sorry, I'm going to get to the text, I promise. But even more important than the text itself is the mindset we have while we're studying. Okay, and it's a little bit ironic, sadhana, because sadhana's like, the cause of our suffering, yeah, it always comes down to the ego. And then I point out a little fault in what she says, and it's like, what? No, I wasn't. Right? So if we have this thought like, okay, and this happens in debate a lot, right? we put something out and then someone challenged our position. And then we're like, no, this is my position. And we see it. Like if we then lose this position, if we lose the debate, I'm the lesser person. I'm no good anymore. So then I'm going to defend. No, I'm right. Don't say that I'm wrong. This happened? Once or twice?
Even if you know somewhere that you're wrong, you still say you're right.
Right. Yes, exactly. And you hold on. I see this time and time again. And people, in the debate, they
get further into the trap.
yes, they just, we say like digging ourselves further in the hole, right? Then it's like, okay, when you make a mistake, say, okay, yeah, no problem. We all make mistakes, no problem. But then in wanting to defend that wrong position, we sometimes, so what was I saying? Oh yeah. So the mindset is instead of, oh, it's so dangerous to participate. I don't want to participate in class because then, Namjong might debate me. Say, wow, so fortunate. Not me, okay, let's say it's one of the other teachers that come here, like them. So fortunate that I have this opportunity. First of all, thankful to all the volunteers, staff, sponsors of the center. Then thank you that they've invited this teacher to come, who's studied and trained for all these years. And then if I say something that needs a bit of correction, they do that. Right? I said many times, I don't know with you guys, but sorry, I'm not a lot of sports analogies today. But in the sports with the instant replay, the coach will video the person on their golf swing or whatever, and then say, see here, oh yeah, your weight is too much on your left. You have to shift to your right, okay, you bend your knee more, turn the shoulder, blah, blah, blah. Right? And these sports coaches are paid millions to point out faults. Right? So these elite athletes, they want to be the best. They want to be that one standing at the end of the tournament, holding the trophy. So how do you do that? How do you become the best? You learn from mistakes. How do you learn from mistakes? You need to, well, when you make mistakes, know what you did, and only then can you correct it. Right? This is why, it's always best. You go to the doctor, right? So somebody might be ashamed, you're not supposed to smoke, whatever. Then you don't tell your doctor, right? Oh, I'm smoking, I'm not going to say I smoke. But if you don't give the full picture, how are you going to get the right diagnosis? So the mindset should be, here it is. This is what I think. And then, you know what, Sadhana, what do you mean by this? Blah, 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 blah. And then we come. And it's like, yeah, okay. The previously held view, yeah, that wasn't 100% precise and accurate. Okay, now I understand how I need to tweak it a little bit, tweak my understanding, and thank you very much. Now I'm learning. So that's the thing, right? Bodhisattva is the one who altruistically, right? This is what I was saying. Starting with yourself, starting from the standpoint of knowing how you suffer, knowing your situation, then think, hey, it's not just me. All beings are like me and not wanting happiness and not wanting suffering and wanting happiness. So this is another, the main heart of this book, actually, in my opinion, are the training to think about why we ought to care that others are happy or suffering. And so it's actually the training in bodhicitta. So there, right. Chandideva says, when both myself and others are similar in that we wish to be happy, what is so special about me? Why do I strive for my happiness alone? When both myself and others are similar in that we do not wish to suffer, what is so special about me? Why do I protect myself and not others? Right? So anyway, that's actually in the eighth chapter. But the point is, we train our mind to loosen the excessive preoccupation with just my own happiness. And the most powerful way to do that is just this, thinking in the equalness of myself and others. Just as I want happiness, they want happiness. So if that's equal, why do I only work for myself alone? There's no valid reason for that, actually. Actually, it is said that the sharpest faculty practitioners, just on that, you just tell them that, hey, go think about this for a while, then everything falls into place. And then get all the way to bodhicitta. So, of course, later you guys will come to know this equalizing and exchanging ourselves with others, right? But that's the heart. Okay? So then, Bodhisattva with bodhicitta, 1 to 15. Enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So then, right, we just were saying, why am I working for just myself and not for others? And then we think, okay, well, I should then work for others. And then we think, well, how can I work best for others? Because I can't work very well right now for their benefit. And then we say, well, bodhisattva, if I attain bodhi, if I become enlightened, then I'll be in the best position to benefit others. Therefore, I'm going to do it. That mind, in short, is what bodhicitta is. And this person who's not yet enlightened, but has that mind that wishes to become enlightened, is a bodhisattva. So now, as great as that wish is, it's not enough, right? And you can say, I wish, to go to the beach for a bit of vacation. But if we just stay here in Bangalore, I wish to go to the beach. I want to go to the beach. We're not going to get there. It's not like some flock of crows are going to pick us up and take us there. We have to, hop on the bus, Gus, right? Or the train or whatever. We have to go. We have to do something to get there. So similarly, although the kind of starting point of the Mahayana path is to have this mind of bodhicitta, we have to engage in the practices that will get us there. And so that is the bodhisattva deeds, right? That's the Janchi Senpai Chipa. Bodhi, that's the bodhisattva. Charya is action, right? Or performance. conduct, something. So then this book is all about that, right? So what I was saying, why they say guide, right? How, I'm an aspiring bodhisattva. Okay, now what? What do I do? How do I make it? How do I get to my destination? Then that's this. And so some of you know the kind of main bodhisattva practice. We talk a lot about the 6 perfections, right? We have, generosity, ethical discipline, patience, joyous perseverance, meditation, and wisdom. So of the 10 chapters, then it's covering those 6 perfections. And then in the beginning, it talks about the benefits of bodhicitta. And then there's a kind of very beautiful way to kind of take the bodhisattva vows. And we use this often in a ceremony for taking the bodhisattva vows. And then after they translate this chapter, full acceptance of the awakening mind. That means to take bodhisattva vows. Then so that you've made these vows, but you don't degenerate from them. Then the next chapter is to translate as conscientiousness and guarding alertness, right? So although we might say, and it's very beautiful, these words, we say to the Buddhas something like, right. Just as previous Sugatas gave birth to an awakening mind, and just as they successively dwelt in the Bodhisattva practice, likewise, for the sake of all that lives, do I give birth to an awakening mind, and likewise shall I too successively follow the practices. Understand? We at this point in the text, we envision all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in front of us, and we say, just as the previous Sugatas, means Buddhas, gave birth to an awakening mind, just as they generated bodhicitta, and then they successively dwelt in the Bodhisattva practices, means they trained in the Bodhisattva practices. Likewise, so just like the previous Buddhas did, likewise, for the sake of all that lives, I also develop an awakening mind, and I also shall follow the practices. We make that promise. And then, after that, after we make that promise to the Buddhas, well, we then have to be conscientious and guard alertness, right? So as it starts then, the chapter 4, having firmly seized the awakening mind in this way, conqueror's children must never waver. Always should they exert themselves to never stray from their practice. So we make this promise to the Buddhas, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, hey, just as you guys trained and practiced, I'm going to do that. Then after making that promise, it can't just be that we forget, but we always have to be conscientious. It means putting our, walking the walk, right? So then, chapter 5, which we started, right? Those who wish to guard their practice should very attentively guard their minds. For those who do not guard their minds will be unable to guard their practice. Wow. Right? Wow. Okay. So sorry. This is so good. This is so good. We got to start again from the beginning, right? This chapter 5. In this world, unsubdued and crazed elephants are incapable of causing such harms as the miseries of the deepest hell, which can be caused by the unleashed elephant of my mind. Okay, so you understand, right? Elephant. Sometimes you see the videos, they like, one gets loose in a village, they like will take down trees, they'll like go into houses and all this, right? Very strong, very powerful. But the unsubdued elephant, much they can do, they can knock down a tree, they can knock over a car, but this thing about causing the miseries of deepest hell, they can't do that, right? But our mind, unsubdued, that will. Why? When our mind is unsubdued, then we'll engage in negative actions, will then cause harm, kill, and then that action of killing will throw us into the hells. However, if the elephant of my mind is firmly bound on all sides by the rope of mindfulness, all fears will cease to exist and all virtues will come to my hand. Okay. So sometimes, you know, they said this. The training of elephants, I don't know if any of you have seen this, but when they train the elephants, sometimes they'll use a kind of stronger chain at first. And then as the elephant becomes more and more disciplined, they use like a rope. And then it is said in the old text, you can then like using just a thin thread, you know, you can keep the elephant in check.
Venerable, they're
Can I say
having
something?
problems with hearing.
Is it?
And some people have not been let into the Zoom room, apparently. So I started again.
Okay. Okay. So we're on, you know, verse 4 of chapter 5. We're just going to review, and then we'll jump to where we are. Right, Jason? Someone's snacking. Oh, we have snacks for everyone? Okay, in 5 minutes. Okay, so if we can hold out 5 more minutes. It's okay. I mean, if you want to eat, it's okay. It's like, you know. No one has like, maybe we should have popcorn, right? It's like watching a movie. I don't think anyone has eaten popcorn while I was giving a teaching. Huh? How do I know? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But today, apricots. Apricots. Or do you say apricots? Apricots. Okay. It's potato. Okay. Tigers, lions, elephant, bears, snakes, and all forms of enemies, the guardians of the hell worlds, evil spirits, and cannibals. Okay, so these is just Shantidev's listing all these things that we normally would be, you know, fearful of, right? will all be bound by binding my mind alone, and will all be subdued by subduing my mind alone. Okay. So this is actually important. Again, we're talking a lot about elephants today. But you know, Devadatta, the Buddha's relative, who was very jealous of the Buddha, once tried to kill, actually several times tried to kill the Buddha. And one time he there's this kind of crazed elephant, and he unleashed the elephant to kind of go on a rampage and about to kill. Thought then the Buddha would be killed. But of course, how the story ends, as the elephant's approaching Buddha, it's naturally subdued, right? So, since the Buddha was completely free from all afflictions, all negative karma, right? There's no way to be harmed. So, in that sense, by binding my mind alone, subduing my mind alone, all of the external forces will be subdued. The perfect teacher himself has shown that in this way, all fears as well as all boundless miseries originate from the mind. Who intentionally created all the weapons for those in hell? Who created the burning iron ground? From where did all the women in hell ensue? Okay. So within Buddhist cosmology, there is a hell realm, right? But in Buddhism, we don't accept the creator God, right? So if not some God creating the hell for us, so the Mighty One has said that all such things are the working of the negative mind. Hence, within the three world spheres, there is nothing to fear other than my mind. You okay?
Yes, I'm just checking the recording to cloud.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, this, I'll say again. The Mighty One means the Buddha has said that all such things are the workings of the negative mind. Hence, within the three world spheres, there is nothing to fear other than my mind. So here in Buddhism, the mind is the creator. The mind is the creator. And the mind is the creator in two senses, which is always good to keep in mind. Of course, here, we're talking about karma, right? And from our negative actions come the ripening of suffering results in the future, yes. But even in the present moment, how we think about our life, how we think about things, then determines our experience of it, right? So we're talking about this. The experience of hearing one's faults pointed out, depending on how you think of it, it can either be like, oh wow, thank you. Thank you for giving me something that I can work on and improve on. Or, how dare you criticize me? Don't you know who I am? Like this. So those first 8 stanzas of this 5th chapter are the kind of encapsulation of why it's then important to guard alertness. Guarding alertness means, in short, watching what's going on in our mind, right? Because if we have the mind subdued, then our future will go one way. If our mind is left unsubdued, our future will go another way. Okay. And so this is the, of course, the essential, this is the quintessential essential practice. Quintessential, the essential, most important practice in Buddhism, watching our mind and then guarding our actions. Okay? That's it. So now we have snack time. Official snack time. Okay? So let's take a short break. And wow, already, people get up. Very excited about the snacks. Okay, hello everyone. So welcome back. We took a couple extra minutes. Thank you for your patience. All right. Okay. So back to chapter 5, Bodhisattvacharyavatara. And we just covered the first 8 verses as a way of setting the context. Okay. And another one of my very favorite stanzas from this text, stanza 18. This being so, I shall hold and guard my mind well. Without the discipline of guarding the mind, what use are many other disciplines? Okay. So again, to really, and later Shantigata says, "O you who wish to guard your minds, I beseech you with folded hands, always exert yourself to guard mindfulness and alertness." So Shantideva is pleading with us, please watch the mind. As I was saying, this is a very, essential practice within Buddhism. And I forget the exact quotation, but it's at the end of the first volume of Lamrim Chenmo, where it talks about the path to liberation. And there's 2 geshes, Tibetan geshes, talking. And then one of them sort of says to the other, if you were to ask your students what they are taking as their essential practice, right? Then many of them would say, oh, I'm trying to develop clairvoyances, I'm trying to gain a vision of my deity, I'm trying to, these kinds of more mystical experiences. And he says, what they should be saying is, I'm getting a more profound certainty about karma, the law of cause and effect, and therefore changing my behavior to be in accordance with it. Okay. So it's no, it's very easy for some, not you, of course, right? But we think that our spiritual practice has to be this kind of like otherworldly thing, or we want visions and seeing deities and all this. But Shantideva, without the discipline of guarding my mind, what is the use of many other disciplines? So, you can also think, people, oh, what are you practicing? Oh, I'm going for a fasting practice. I'm going without sleep. I'm, sometimes they hold their hand above their head, right? People do this for like ages, standing on one leg, lying on a bed of nails, whatever you see, right? But this essential one, watching the mind when there's an affliction, not letting it impel you to do a negative action, watching a mind when there's, some affliction, applying the antidote. That is the real practice. And without that, even if you can lie on a bed of nails for a day, not moving or whatever, go without sleep, go without eating, have a vision of this or that. That alone isn't going to even help you get a good rebirth in your next life, much less liberation and enlightenment. So, you with me? So shall we continue with, did they, what did you say, 44? Stanza 44? Yeah? So now we'll cover some new material, but I had to give you the following Shantideva's exhortation. Please guard mindfulness and alertness well. By acting this way, okay, so we have to go to 43 again. I should undertake whatever deed I have intended to do and think of doing nothing other than it. When my mind is applied to that task, I should set about for the time being to accomplish it. So this is actually really good advice for anything we do, worldly, non-worldly, right? This myth of multitasking. Now all the productivity gurus, even forgetting about Dharma, they're saying, hey, no multitasking. It's a myth. We can't multitask. Whatever we do, we need to set our mind fully on that, right? When we're actually multitasking, what we're doing is we're shifting our attention from one thing to another. And they found that it actually takes something like 72 seconds, más o menos, right? To switch our attention back and forth. Therefore, there's many of these, productivity gurus saying, okay, when you, Cal Newport, for example, he wrote this book, Deep Work, right? Deep work, meaning not superficial work, but doing the deep work, you need to have the time, energy, and focus to do it. Means all these advice given, switch off your notifications, right? How many times you're doing work? Ding! And maybe it's like this one, right? Our phone goes off. Oh, and then like a Pavlovian dog, right? Oh no, maybe someone, liked my post, or maybe someone has written me, and then we go, we distract, we get distracted away from our task, and then we go to that. Oh, and then it's not just that they liked the post. Oh, but then there's a new few posts that I got. Okay, I gotta see, and I gotta like them back. Blah 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 blah. Meanwhile, 5-10 minutes is gone. Okay, where was I? And our work, right? So, what Shantideva is saying, I should undertake whatever deed I've intended to do and think of doing nothing other than it, right? So now is the time. I'm going to, whatever it is, right? I'm going to do that and do nothing else. So now, in modern times, what Shantideva would recommend is just like what these productivity gurus, turn off notifications, maybe even, turn off your phone entirely, right? No distractions, okay? And set aside that time to do it. And say, okay, for the next whatever amount of time, I'm going to work on my blank and do that, okay? So by acting in that way, all will be done well. But by acting otherwise, neither action will be done, right? So then, if we keep getting distracted, right, then even the work we set out to do won't get done. Likewise, there will be no increase in approximate disturbing conceptions that come from a lack of alertness. Okay. So here's some fancy terminology. Proximate disturbing conceptions that come from lack of alertness. So what this basically means is, as our mind gets distracted and we let it just kind of wander, a monkey mind, then some other kind of disturbing emotions will come and it'll kind of degenerate into nothing. Okay? All right. So then, stanza 45. If I happen to be present when a senseless conversation is taking place, or if I happen to see some kind of spectacular show, I should abandon attachment towards it. Okay? So this happens a lot, isn't it? Right? Now, in the kind of Bodhisattva vows, in even the 10 non-verses about senseless speech, there are, of course, wholesome conversation topics. There are also some that aren't so wholesome, okay? Aren't going to be contributing to our path. And so, this includes, of course, gossiping, right? It includes, talking about other people's faults, right? Especially when they're not present, right? Does it happen to you, right? I'm sorry to use this term, but, bitching, right? You're bitching about someone, you go to see your friend, right? Can you believe what this person did? And you start complaining. I see some smiles. It happens.
Not venting.
Venting, okay. Yeah, venting. It's also, so now we should be clear. Everything is with the motivation, right? So sometimes, of course, you could say, hey, you know what? This coworker of mine has been acting like this. Okay, what should I do? What do you think? What's a constructive way I can handle this? Okay, your motivation, you want things to be better with the other person, and you're talking about this, okay? Even venting a little bit, you want to just get it off your chest, okay? So better than, you've done something to harm me, and now it's building up like a pressure cooker, and then if the pressure doesn't get alleviated, it's gonna, explode. So to alleviate some of the pressure, you say to a third person, man, this person's really getting on my nerves, blah, 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 blah. Okay, and then it's like, you can also do this in a journal, by the way, but it acts like a kind of windshield wiper, right? You just kind of get it off your chest, and then that's it. And then next time you see them, hi, right? It's okay. We have to do that, okay? And this is not being two-faced, by the way, okay? As we were saying last night, okay, so some people might have this view, oh, but you got to be true to yourself. If you have a problem with someone, you should tell them. Maybe. But as we were saying last night, right? Some people can't handle the truth. So especially if someone, I don't know them very well. And then, I say, hey, these are some things that you've done that I don't like. It's not going to go over very well. They're not going to listen to me. and it's going to further degenerate already a not good situation, right? So in those times, we practice patience, we apply the antidotes to our own afflictions, and then, hi, how are you? In that way, remember, later we're going to talk about the 4 ways that bodhisattvas gather disciples or subdue sentient beings. And one is having pleasant speech to others, right? You get a lot further in many situations in life, right? You know, by being kind, right? The flip side, you're putting people on the defensive, even simple things as you go through life. You order something at a restaurant, it doesn't come the way that you wanted it. Waiter, I wanted whatever, the sourdough toast for my sandwich. This is wheat bread. What were you thinking? Do I need to come talk to your manager? What do you think? So,
you were saying about venting just now, and that sometimes it can be healthy to get things off your chest. How is that the, not the same as bitching?
okay, so actually, the best is if you don't, right? But it's like this, right? It's kind of like this. If you are in a car and you've lost your brakes, you got to crash somewhere. Rather than crash into people, it's better to crash into like the guardrail, right? So, but of course, better to crash at all. Okay. So sometimes, when we get very disturbed, actually better to not even say it to someone else and say, hey, I'm triggered, I'm upset. You don't have to say this to the person, but just, leave. Just get out of the situation. So you don't say that thing that's gonna then harm. Okay, that's best. If not, you have a friend that you're like, how do you say, confidant, say it in a way. Hopefully, they'll then say something that will help you relax and see the situation in a different way. Yeah. But of course, it's even better not for it to get that far. Okay. So here, I was talking about senseless conversation. So senseless conversation includes other people's faults. It includes objects that, you know, evoke strong negative emotions, right? So especially, in the enlightenment teachings, it says always talk about politics and like war and these kind of current events. We can also check, right? Sometimes when we look at the news, it can be quite disturbing for our minds. And especially, yeah, some years ago, there might, or even now, there might be some politicians that we don't like what they're doing, and it might be even true, right? But getting ourselves really worked up about it might not be that helpful in the short term. So 46. If for no reason I start digging the earth, picking at grass, or drawing patterns on the ground, then by recalling the advice of the Buddhas, I should immediately stop out of fear. Okay, there's some things to unpack here. So you have to keep in mind that this text was given to monks. And in the monastic vows, there are vows against digging the earth, picking grass, and like drawing on the ground. Okay, they have their own reasons for that. Digging the earth, well, part of it is when you dig, you can kill worms. Picking at grass, there is a injunction not to kind of destroy living beings. I mean, even living plant life, right? Drawing on the ground, these things. So, but they're relatively minor vows, right? There's not like killing a human or anything, but sometimes we just get a little mindless, and we might pick up a stick and like a little bit mindless. I don't know. But then when we see ourselves doing it, this is what mindfulness is, right? We notice, oh, I'm doing that. Then recalling the advice of the Buddhas means that there is a minor vows against it. I should immediately stop out of fear. Now, this word fear, you also have to be very grounded and balanced about that, right? So, even fear, there are some useful fears, right? Useful fears. And so Lamzo Rinpoche is very fond of saying, having the useful fear about our own death, right? What that means is recalling that we're going to die, and actually the death isn't the scary part, but the death without having practiced Dharma, that's the scary part. If we die having, practiced well, I mean, they say the best practitioner, hey, maybe they've attained enlightenment in this life. Maybe they're already enlightened, right? So then no way to fear death. It's just like, yeah. Okay. Then middle kind of practitioner, they're assured, they're guaranteed, they know they're going to be reborn in a good place, maybe in even a pure land of Buddha, right? So then it's like, I heard one great Tibetan master who was, quite old, and his knees were shot, and then the thought was, well, I'm gonna just trade bodies, just like we replace our car every 20 years, right? Then we get the new model, right? Then at the very least, right? So then there's a certain level on the path you're assured, and they might even know they're going to be reborn in a certain pure land, Buddha. But then at the very least, you will have thought, okay, I did my best in this life, and I'm going to get a good rebirth in my next life, even if you can't direct it, right? So then thinking about that, you then change your actions so that you can have a good death, right? So we do this, right? We read about the drawbacks of eating processed foods, trans fats, and all this, and so we don't want to experience whatever higher cholesterol and heart disease and all this. So because we have that fear of some unwanted occurrence in the future, we say, okay, I'm going to give up those kinds of foods, right? Whenever I have the desire to move my body or to say something, first of all, I should examine my mind, and then with steadiness, act in the proper way. So nice. Now, this is one of my very favorite parts of the text. Stanza 48. Whenever there is attachment in my mind, and whenever there is a desire to be angry, I should not do anything nor say anything, but remain like a piece of wood. Wow. Okay? So, in general, yes, on the path, we're going to come to a point where we abandon anger, we abandon attachment, we abandon all the afflictions at their root. Means they can't occur again. But for now, while we're still training in the path, you know, it's relatively easier to control our body and speech relative to the mind, right? Right? So, you know, like for example, right, we say, don't get angry today. Okay, it's tough. But hey, don't kill a mosquito today. That we can do, right? When a mosquito comes, lands on us, don't like it, there might be some anger, irritation, but yet remain like a piece of wood. So, piece of wood, right? Not moving, not saying anything, right? You'd be like that. So even the mind so disturbed, I want to kill the mosquito, how did a mosquito drink my blood and make me itchy? Made like a piece of wood. So nice. Whenever I have distracted thoughts, the wish to verbally belittle others, feelings of self-importance or self-satisfaction, when I have the intention to describe the faults of others, pretension, and the thought to deceive others, whenever I'm eager for praise or have the desire to blame others, whenever I have the wish to speak harshly and cause disputes, at all such times should I remain like a piece of wood. So good, right? So, you know, it's interesting. The first Bodhisattva vow, you know, remember? Those of you who do 6 session Guru Yoga, you should be reciting them every day. So the first Bodhisattva vow,
Not to deceive. No.
criticizing others or praising yourself out of attachment for fame or respect. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, so first we have to say this. So remember, Bodhisattva, one who totally focused on others, okay? Wanting to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, yes. But what that means is we're practicing cherishing others more than oneself. Okay. So then, yeah, there's 18 root vows, 46 branch vows of the Bodhisattva. Okay. Now, what this means is, what one of my teachers, how he described it is actually, you know, there's one Bodhisattva vow, right? And that's what we said, right? We promised to the Buddhas, all you Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, just as all of you generate bodhicitta and then trained in the Bodhisattva way, I too shall generate bodhicitta and follow in the practices. Okay, that's it. That's what we're signing up for. So then all these enumeration of the 18 and 46 branch, right? 18 root and 46 branch, these are like, okay, hey, if you're saying to me, this is the Buddha talking to us, if you're saying to me you're gonna train like us, if you do these things, hey, that's not really in keeping with the Bodhisattva way of life. That's not how Bodhisattvas act, right? So there's some things that are like stronger, that's like, hey, this is really kind of improper. And there's other kind of branch ones where it's like, come on, you can do better than that. Bodhisattvas don't really act like that way, right? So praising yourself and belittling others out of a attachment for respect or fame, right? That's number one. Interesting. Don't you think? So this happens a lot, right? Later it'll come up in the patience chapter. Okay. Now, we want to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. Okay, what does that mean? We want to attain enlightenment, and then once we're enlightened, we will then guide all beings to become Buddhas. We're going to guide all of them to become perfect Buddhas. Okay. So later in the patience chapter, Shantideva says this, right? When we have a kind of enemy, right, where someone gets on our nerves, then when we see them gain some kind of respect or praise or worldly success, what happens? There's a competitive mind, the jealous mind, right? Right? That person. They got the promotion, or that person. They got the whatever. That good thing happened to them. I'm better than them. I deserve it, not them. Whatever this kind of mind, right? This happened to us once or twice, right? So then, Shantideva asks, hey, you want to be a bodhisattva because you want this person to become Buddha. When they become Buddha, they'll be a supreme object of respect and veneration for all the three world sentient beings. Right? That's what you want. Right? And now, when they get some mere, promotion, or they get some mere, like, I don't know, 1,000 followers, whatever, 1,000 likes on their post, and we get jealous, huh? That's not how a bodhisattva acts. That's not how a bodhisattva thinks. Okay? So, we belittling others because, we want the respect. I'm better than them, right? Or praising ourselves because we want to get the respect. Yeah. It can happen, right? Like, oh, this isn't honestly, this isn't a huge risk for me because I'm not praising myself, by the way. I have many faults, but this one, anytime, like, okay, I've seen this happen. I won't talk about myself, but you might see people and they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go do this course, and it's with another teacher. One thing I can say is I'll never be like, oh, I'm getting that same teaching like next month in this place. You should come to my teaching. That other teacher doesn't know what they're talking about. Don't go to that guy, right? Right? But this can happen, right? We get a bit, competitive. We want to get it for ourselves. So anyway, you now think about how these can operate in your life and see how it's you know yeah, maybe not the way bodhisattvas would act. Now, as a corollary to this, right, there might even be, this can happen a lot too in Dharma context, right? So everyone has individual karma, individual preferences, right? And some might connect with certain teachers over others, okay? So you then meet your Dharma friend and they're like, wow, I really, I went to this teaching with whoever. Ah, so great, okay? When that happens, even you think like this, you don't like them, you don't connect with them, you say, that's so great. Really wonderful that you went there. You encourage them and you don't like pick faults in that person that they have already some good feelings of respect for. Right? Now, of course, big fine print. But there are some charlatans out there also. So in a means to kind of protect others from falling in to kind of misleading teachers, if is that situation, you could maybe say, hey, you know what? Maybe the teaching is all right and good, but did you know there is this side as well? Okay. But if they've taken them on already as like a guru, it's very, very difficult actually to have that conversation if you're not in their kind of core circle of trusted advisors, right? Whenever I desire material gain, honor, or fame, whenever I seek attendance or a circle of friends, and when in my mind I wish to be served, at all these times I should remain like a piece of wood. Okay. So here again, this English saying, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Mhm.
It's not that nice, but you get the point. Okay. In the past, you'd have a basin and you wash the baby. So now after the baby is washed, you want to throw away the water, but don't throw the baby out with that water. Not a nice image, but you get my point. There's something that you want to, there's something that has good and bad parts of it. You want to get rid of the bad, but therefore, just get rid of the bad, don't get rid of the whole thing. Okay, so some of these things that we're talking about, material gain, honor, fame, attendance, or a circle of friends, okay, are those things good or bad? Well, it depends on our motivation. What's that? Is bad.
Yeah, I think that's everyone will keep up on, I think. How is circle of friends? So it's again,
Okay, depends on the motivation. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, depends on the motivation. So, with a motivation, bodhisattva motivation, okay, then of course, having wealth, great. Having fame, great. Like I always say, it'd be wonderful if His Holiness Dalai Lama were like a multi-billionaire. It'd be wonderful if he were even more famous than he is now, because with that fame, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people come to his teachings and then receive that benefit from it, right? It's great. If he were, more wealthy, or already he does support a lot of, good causes. And so, a bodhisattva, of course, they would use all of those worldly things for the benefit of all sentient beings. That'd be great. Okay. So even circle of friends, So honor, fame, attendance or circle of friends. So attendance is like people who are serving you. Okay. Circle of friends. Now, here again. Worldly motivation, right? Your friends, they are always praising you, like all this kind of stuff. Okay, that's one thing. Of course, we need help and support along the way. And this is kind of the idea behind the Sangha, or the spiritual community coming together, sort of working toward the same goal. And so this is important. Okay. So we should like that. We should seek that. But what is the motivation? If the motivation is out of self-cherishing, with thoughts of just this life, then not so good. At those times, remain a piece of wood. And even this thing, you know, there's another advice from the Kadampa masters saying that, you know, something like the best wealth is not desiring wealth. The best friend is not desiring friends. Okay. And kind of goes down this list. So what does that mean? Sometimes when we want the other person to like us, right? You know, well then like be a bit disingenuous, right? And try to be like people pleasing, and just say, you know, what they want, maybe flatter them, maybe yeah, like this. So instead of that, not wanting to have friends, but being true, you know, to your authentic self, to your own values, and then acting in that way, right? Then naturally it'll come. Okay. So without that, yeah, maybe people will like us. But just an example, we were talking about this in the break, you know, talking about how difficult it is to make friends as an adult. But actually, what will happen is as you pursue your life interests, you know, now you're coming to this meditation center, you're meeting other people that are interested in similar things. And then hopefully doing these kind of shared activities, some friendships will naturally form, right? Otherwise, you know, you meet someone, you get a bit desperate, and then it's like you kind of lose your values. And then, oh yeah, they say, okay, we're gonna go out drinking something. Then you're like, oh, okay. And then you lose that, and then yeah. You with me? Whenever I have the wish to decrease or to stop working for others and the desire to pursue my welfare alone, if motivated by such thoughts, a wish to say something occurs, at these times I should remain like a piece of wood. So this is important, right? The desire to pursue my welfare alone. Okay. So of course, although we're cherishing others, although we're working for the welfare of others, it's not that we then totally, you know, ignore ourselves, because, you know, we have to be healthy. We have to use this body and mind combination to work for others. Therefore, we've got to take care of this vehicle, right? But even so doing, it should be like, okay, I'm going to, so as we said, I'm going to go to sleep. I'm going to go to sleep so I can rest well, so I can remain healthy, so I can continue to benefit others, right? Then sleeping can become a bodhisattva activity, right? Whenever I have impatience, laziness, cowardice, shamelessness, or desire to talk nonsense, if thoughts of partiality arise at these times too, I should remain like a piece of wood. Having in this way examined their minds for disturbing conceptions and for thoughts that strive for meaningless things, the courageous bodhisattvas should hold their minds steady through the application of remedial forces. Okay. So this is the essence, right? We're watching the mind. We see when the afflictions or thoughts to pursue our own aims arise. First step, not let it impel us to do something negative with our actions of body or speech. Then, once we're a little bit past the initial storm, we apply the remedial forces. Yeah. So when there's compassion, when there's anger, meditating compassion, when there's feelings of attachment, then to apply the antidotes to attachment by meditating on, let's say, impermanence. Yeah. Being very resolute and faithful, steady, respectful, polite, with a sense of shame, apprehensive and peaceful, I should strive to make others happy. So I'm not sure about the Tibetan word, but I think apprehensive is kind of like the fear we were talking about. Fear of the effects of ripening of negative karma. Yeah. So this is nice. I should not be disheartened by all the whims of the childish who are in discord with one another. I should know these to arise in their minds due to disturbing conceptions and therefore be kind toward them. This actually is this is the main obstacle. Even after one has achieved the mind of bodhicitta, there's a big risk that we see sentient beings misbehaving. We see that they're, so destructive and harmful that we then sort of lose compassion for them and say, no way can I benefit these others. They're just too unruly, right? So then when you see this going on in the world, then to think, oh, they're acting like this because of their disturbing conceptions, because of their ignorance, because of their anger, because of their greed, whatever. Okay. So it's kind of like that thought in Christianity, love, hate the sin, love the sinner, right? So actually, right? That's what we're saying. In relation to ourselves, why do we need to protect the mind? Because the mind creates all the suffering. So these people, they haven't protected their mind. They haven't worked on their mind. They haven't subdued their own mind. Therefore, they're angry, they're greedy, they're this. And therefore, because of the greed, the anger, blah, 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 they're now doing destructive, harmful things to each other. Okay. In doing that which is by nature not unwholesome, both from the sake of myself and other sentient beings, I should always hold my mind fast, acting like an apparition with no sense of self. That's quite nice. So then we're maintaining this kind of bodhisattva conduct, okay? Holding our mind fast. You know that expression? Holding my mind fast, being steadfast, right? So then we're going to be doing things both for the sake of my others and sake of myself and other sentient beings, but then to avoid this, acting like, you know, the medicine becoming poison, we should do this without a sense of self. Means not use it as a further reason to inflate our sense of self, right? This can happen a lot too, unfortunately. Right? We might even be doing great things, might even be benefiting others, but actually this is what the great Tibetan master, late Tibetan master Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche said in his seminal work, Cutting Through Spiritual Materialism. And that is, you know, when we talk about the ego, in essence, our main part of the practice is to overcome that inflated sense of the self. But since our ego is so skilled, right, it's going to try to use even our spiritual practice. We should be cutting the ego, but the ego is going to want to use our spiritual practice to bolster itself. And then, instead of cutting through the ego, then we'll have another reason why we're so important. Because I'm a great practitioner, I'm a great meditator, I'm a great teacher, I'm whatever. Right?
Sometimes it's subtle when we ourselves can't recognize it.
That is true. Sometimes it's subtle, but sometimes it's like the elephant in the room. But you can therefore that's why mindfulness is there, right? And understanding on deeper levels of sophistication in our own mind. It's very tricky, right? So of course there is, you know, middle way that we're trying to find in all these things. And on the one hand, we do talk in other contexts about having this mind of rejoicing. So we should be happy of the good things that we do. Okay. We should. That's good. But and that's why, you know, some of these earlier advice, praising ourselves out of feelings of attachment. Okay. For ourselves, we rejoice. Okay, isn't it great that I did whatever, the 1 month retreat? Good. Right. But then, or you know, isn't it good that I attended the Dalai Lama's teachings? Yes. But then we can check our minds. Are we then? Yeah, we rejoice for ourselves, but then one thing to watch out for is making a show of things, right? Showing. You know, hey, I haven't seen you in a month. Where were you? Yeah, you know, I was doing a you know, highest yoga tantra retreat in the mountains of the Himalayas. Very advanced practice. It's very secret. I can't tell you about it. Right? Or you go to see the Dalai Lama teach. Maybe you even have a you know, get a photo opportunity with him. Now, I'm not criticizing others, but you can see, right? Maybe even the Dalai Lama, your group gives you a mala. The next time you go in to wherever, oh, hey, Namjong, oh, I see you wearing a mala there. Yeah, you know, His Holiness the Dalai Lama gave it to me when I met him, you know, shook his hand, got the photo. Did you see the photo on my Instagram? Yeah, you know, me and His Holiness. Right. Just like this. Yeah, me and His Holiness. Yeah, you know. Oh, this? Oh, yeah. I got others like this from when I met him before, you know. What do you think? So those are the ones like the elephant in the room. But even in more subtle ways, we should look and see what's motivating ourselves. So there is a statement in the teachings where it's like, change your mind, but leave your external appearance the same. Okay. Meaning, of course, I'm in ropes, but in general, it shouldn't be this kind of show. People should know about our practice when they notice how much kinder we are, right? That's the mark of the progress. What's that? We're almost out of time, but I'll just say this. One of my favorite stories. I forget who it was, but a Tibetan master, maybe Tome Zampo, maybe one of the Tibetan masters. Anyway, he was a great master, great teacher. He was invited to give teachings at a certain monastery in Tibet. Okay, now this is 500-600 years ago, at least. No roads, no cars, blah blah blah. So then they would walk in caravans, long distances, month on end, and groups of people would come together. So this great master, wearing very simple robes, nothing flashy. Okay, then walking in this caravan, and there was a lady, a bit of an aristocrat, in that same caravan. Sees the monk wearing very simple robes, thinks like, okay, this is just some whatever, ordinary monk. Asks the monk, can you carry my shoes? Okay. Now, in the Asian cultures, right, this scene is very like low work, low, right? Okay. But the monk, yes, okay, I'll carry your shoes. Then as they traveling for days, right? They start to approach the place. Now this woman was also going to receive teachings from him, but he didn't know. She didn't know that he was that great master. Now, as they start to approach the monastery, they line up. Some of you have seen, right? They line up outside the monastery. They're playing the galing. They're holding the banners. They're like lit the incense and all this stuff. And the lady's like, huh, like what's all this hubbub? What's all this fanfare about? And the monk says, yeah, I think they might be making this procession for me because I'm arriving. The lady gets so embarrassed, she just leaves without taking her shoes back. Yeah? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get me? So, what do we take from that? This is the master, right? But the real master, okay, some people might be like, you ask me to carry your shoes? Do you know who I am? I am the great, I don't carry shoes, right? No way. Serving beings. Okay, I'll carry your shoes. Very unassuming, very humble, not making a show. So probably in that list, the greatest respect is not being attached to getting respect. Hi. Huh?
I'm just thinking around. You know, being a piece of wood actually maybe just the most prudent.
Being what?
Like a piece of wood, not reactive. Because when of the religious person getting it off their chest, or even the right intentions, who are we to make judgments on others? Or even we are making the judgment of our own motivations, our own intentions to be good.
Right.
Are we in that position? So it will be just most prudent to, not make any judgment.
Sure. Please.
Okay, then there's a middle way that you say, okay, don't go to that extreme about the right intentions, blah blah blah.
So, yes. So in general, so those of you, right? Okay. You see how much teachings there, right? There's 108 volumes of sutra, 215 volumes of commentaries, right? This is however 190 pages. So in general, when we're studying Dharma, we are making our toolbox, and we have these different practices. And just like in tools, depending on what needs fixing, we use those tools for the situation. Okay. So this one about remaining a piece of wood is going to be great. We're going to get a lot of use out of that at our level in the path. Basically, because we can't control our unruly minds very easily, we just watch the mind, and when we notice what any of these afflictions arise, we say, okay, I want to criticize someone else. I'm not going to. I want to, but I'm not going to. That's great. Even doing that actually is a bit of an antidote to the affliction itself, because the other one, if we just let it go, we let that anger unchecked, or whatever, that affliction goes unchecked, it gets stronger. So every time we at least put some brakes on it, it's going to then make it easier and not give it more momentum. And gradually we'll be able to, how to say, decrease and eventually abandon. So this is the point. This is what we covered today. Shanita was saying, when the affliction arises, act like a piece of wood. Then we apply the remedial forces. So that's gonna give us a long years and years of practice, and that's the essential practice, right? Otherwise, and there's so many comments about this. I think I said this last time I came. When someone asked, I think I said this to you. Someone asked me once, I was going on a retreat, and they asked me what kind of retreat I was going to do. And I said, I'm going to do a retreat on how to become a better person. And this person was shocked. And they said, I didn't know you could do a retreat on that. Right? Now, okay, honestly, okay, so this is something you should know. Okay, I'm being serious. So some of these Vajrayana retreats where you do a Manjushri retreat or something, actually, since it's a little bit secret, you shouldn't say, I'm going to go do Manjushri retreat or Tara retreat. Okay. Of course, you can talk to your teacher and get some advice, but then don't make a show of it, right? Don't make a show. So whatever retreat I was going to do, I didn't want to divulge. But actually, whatever retreat that is, every single one of our practices should be about becoming a better person. So I was very shocked when they said, I didn't know you could do a retreat on that. What came to my mind was that every retreat should be a retreat on how to become a better person. Right? Every practice that we do is how to become a better person. So the fact that you're thinking, okay, now I'm doing, my Manjushri retreat, okay, and now I have to recite 600,000 Om Mani Padme D, right? There's a saying, the Tibetans say, like, okay, you when you recite the mantra, you pull like this. So there's a saying, the fingernails get exhausted, but the afflictions don't get exhausted. Right? Right? You get it? We think our retreat, okay, 700,000, I'm not 700,000. It's just, okay, our fingernail wears down a bit, but our afflictions remain the same. Then that's not the real retreat.
We have time for one more question.
We do.
Okay. What about sometimes Buddhism speaks so much about don't criticize others and so on, but what about the sort of the more justice or rights-based perspective? Because sometimes, I mean, let's say, or even when it comes to subject of politics, politics is not value neutral. So, let's say like right now, there's sort of almost like a wave of neo-fascism in politics in many countries. So what about this sort of situation? How do you deal with, I mean, sometimes it's necessary for there to be mass movements and people coming out in the streets and make protests and things
For
like
sure,
that.
for sure.
So what
This is an excellent question, so thank you. So of course, again, it always comes down to the motivation. Okay. So, many, unfortunately, many things in the world, there's a lot of injustice, there's a lot of problems being perpetrated by individuals, governmental level, corporate level, it's all pervasive. And so the thing is, when we get involved, what is our motivation? So I agree, there could even be, we go to a protest and we might be there, even yelling slogans, but we do so not with a mind of anger, with a mind of compassion. That can happen. So it's not this thing where, we always have to maintain like the wisdom with our compassion. And we have to be able to say, these things are wholesome, these things are unwholesome, and kind of tell it as it is. But then the question is, even given that there is this injustice being perpetrated in the world, what do we do about it? And therefore we need wisdom. And as I said, just with our sandwich coming back with the wrong kind of bread, it might be more skillful to deal with this in another way than just getting upset. So there's a difference between having a reactive approach versus a very kind of skilled analytic approach to solving the problem. Either way, anger isn't going to bring the result you want. Okay? So, with that, why don't we end it here? We can turn to page 167. Stanza 55. So we dedicate our merit. So please think, for as long as space endures and for as long as living beings remain, until then man too abide to dispel the misery of the world. May all the pains of living creatures ripen solely upon myself, and through the might of the Bodhisattva Sangha, may all beings experience happiness. May the teachings, which are the sole medicine for suffering and the origin of every joy, be materially supported and honored and abide for a long, very long time. this last one, yeah. Appreciate to my devotha, through whose kindness wholesome minds ensue, and appreciate to my spiritual masters, through whose kindness I develop. So, in short, that last one we can dedicate for the long lives of spiritual friends, particularly Swami Siddhartha, and also that our precious Guru Ramzo Rinpoche will quickly again appear in this world in a form that we can continue to receive teachings from him. Okay, so thank you very much. So now, yeah. Oh, hold on before we do that. We're going to do a soul offering, right?
Yeah.